right. It's been a hell of a week. We will be beginning with a lot of other issues before we get right away into Ngoketungia discussions. And I am hopeful that we will put international politics into context, and we are going to review where we are in our struggle and continuously educate our people on the abundance that nature bestowed on Amazonia in terms of its natural resources and human resources. And we simply have to be determined as a people to end the tyranny that has taken over our land, caused a lot of pain, displacement of our people, and as we are seeing in the continent, there are a lot of changes happening, and it's coming very close to home. We should be hopeful about the trend of events, and I'm very confident that in the next few years there will be a huge shift in perspective in the way that the international system analyzes the situation within the continent, within the Gulf of Guinea and in Amazonia in particular. Let me salute first our people on the ground and to thank them for their steadfastness, continuous dedication, and their continuous belief in Amazonia. As I have said repeatedly, I understand times are hard for our people. Things are difficult, and people are sometimes wondering for how long this war is going to last. I keep reminding our people that the question we should be asking is, when are we going to have our freedom? Not how long the war is going to take. Because for every people, it doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as they are confident that they are going to gain their freedom. And Amazonians must be confident that this is the last battle we will ever fight in our almost 123 years of existence under one colonial form of governance to the other. This confidence should come because of what has been happening in the past 7 years, the determination of our fighters and our people, continuous respect for the Monday ghost towns, which we have declared as a day of collective resistance against Cameroon's occupation, a day of collective remembrance of those who have died because of Amazonia, and a day of collective memory also for families that have been displaced, children that have been orphaned, wives widowed, mothers who've lost their children, and mothers who've simply had their children disappeared by a regime that has insisted that it must be the master of our destiny. We must take a firm stance against Cameroon, and avoid any activity that helps Cameroon, any activity that enables them continue to perpetuate the system that has existed in our land. our activities must be consistent with the aspirations of our people to be free. Our activities must reflect our collective anger against the activities of Cameroon in Ambazonia. And I think we must conduct ourselves in a way that shows that we are mindful of the pain that families are going through. And we are mindful of the suffering of our people in villages, in towns, without hospitals, without clean drinking water, without job, without access to medical care. When the butchers and occupiers of our land, they live in abundance. They live in nice homes, highly protected, access to the highest paid jobs in our country. And their opportunities are boundless. While we, the owners of the land, we have nothing. We must conduct ourselves in a way that shows the world we are angry. Because sometimes they are wondering if Ambazonians are really angry about their misery. This misery is not some natural disaster. It's not Mount Fako that has erupted and has killed people. It is not some bushfire that was caused by lightning. This is a disaster that is humanly imposed deliberately by Cameroon for as long as we have lived. Even before most of us were born. They entered into our country and for 62 years nearly achieved full occupation, demanded and achieved full compliance from our people to be Cameroonians in obligation and not in rights. But with this generation and with this leadership, that has come to an end. You know, in the struggle for freedom, as I said yesterday when I addressed our people, you must be able what you are against to state clearly what you are fighting against. But you must also be very clear about what you want to offer. It is very easy to be against something. But what are you offering in return that will better the lives of our people? And as we go state by state, we are putting our vision for Ambazonia for those states clearly. And our people have a choice to make between a vision that restores their dignity, provides to them economic opportunities, a standard of education that reflects the socioeconomic and political context of our time, a society that not only those who have should have the possibility of going to the hospital. They should compare this vision with an empty vision of destruction. We had the chief slave, Ngoketungia, lamenting. He was lamenting on television why Ambazonians are not accepting their state of servitude. For the first time, he was recognizing that there is a war. After they've granted special status to, who is this bad luck bishop, and the dancing moderator in Boya. After they've handed out special status to a couple of individuals and groups, he was on TV lamenting why Ambazonians have not simply surrendered. Yeah, that we should surrender. That they we have suffered. That the reason the people in the villages have not surrendered because they don't have roads through which they can walk to the DDR centers. Chief slave, a man who has no road heading to his own village, a man who serves as prime minister in a country where ministers under him do not take orders from him. A chief slave who said he was the head of so-called national dialogue. He came out with resolutions he could not implement because he controls nothing. Because they know he is a slave. He said on behalf of his government, he sent people to Canada to have negotiations. We slapped them on the table. He went back, he did not have the guts to go on television and pronounce it. A junior minister under him slapped him in broad daylight on his face. He could not respond. He's running around Ambazonia. We are watching him. One day we will lift him up with a pop. And his last words will be Amba. Our land is a graveyard. It's a graveyard. You can hide. You can dodge. You can run. But one day, like the special branch commissioner in Bamenda, the golden bullet of our forces will strike you like lightning. And as you descend, you will remember Ambazonia. My fellow people, Ambazonia is our country. It is a land bestowed to us by our Creator, with its international borders. Unless you forget, Cameroon gained independence on 1st January 1960. Ambazonia was not part of it. Its internationally demarcated border was clear. And as the African Union Constitutive Act, Article 4 states, you cannot simply just arbitrarily change your borders at independence. You cannot. And these frogs, they think they will manipulate, they will use violence, they will dismantle our infrastructures and turn us into beggars. And they believe time has always worked for them. They have made us so broke, so poor, that you have to make a choice between standing up for freedom or surviving. That's not a choice any human being should make. Living and freedom are interwoven. But they have enacted deliberate policies that should keep us poor for the rest of our lives. We depend on them. We look at them as our God. There are thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of Amazonians who've left our rich land and gone and settled in Cameroon. Looking for what? Civil service jobs. They are suffering because we were told that bread and pate made us dignified, brought us respect, shows that we are civilized. And they call our national languages country talk. We have suffered. We have suffered in the hands of these bastards. And each time you see them, I want you to develop a dose of anger. There they are. Looters. Daylight robbers. We worship them. We cheer them when they play football. Our own children were jumping on stones in Mutengene, in Dop. The Bamenda Stadium became a public toilet. The whole Abakwa became a public toilet. International disgrace. When other people were aspiring for something higher, Cameroon had manipulated us to aspire to be like Cameroonians. Why I am happy, even though we are at war, which is very costly, is because through these discussions, through our tenacity, our devotion, we've studied our history, we now know who we are, how rich we are, how important we are, how proud we should be about ourselves, and why it is important for us to stick our necks out to defend our land. We must have a long-term vision. I was watching a video today sent to me by the spokesman of this other slave who wanted to become president in Nigeria, Obi. Instead of standing for Biafra, he just said he wants to take over Aso Rock. He was talking about a conference he attended, an economic conference. He paid about 40,000 US dollars. And all through, I think the first days, he never heard a word spoken about the African economy. And the next day, he asked the professor, why is it that I'm here for these days, having 40,000 US dollars, and nothing has been spoken about the African economy? And he was told flatly, it's no African economy. Do you have a 20-year plan? Do you have a program? Do you have an aspiration? Or do you have everything in the moment? And he showed him, he asked him the currency of Nigeria. He removed the Naira. 100 Naira note. And the man removed $100 note. And he said, let's think about the worth. And he asks Obi, what is the difference? And Obi said the $100 note, I think then was what, 10,000 Naira. Now is what, $100 note is what, almost 100,000 Naira. And Obi said, you see, this is the problem. This is the difference in terms of value. At the end, this is what he told Obi. You people lack faith in your country. that it is not the difference in the value of this money. It is faith that the Americans have in their country that gives value to the dollar. You live in your own country as though you are on the run. If they will put a bus on the middle of Bamenda or in the middle of Bamunka and ask who wants to leave, I can assure you there will be no space. We must have faith in Amazonia. We must have faith in our land. But I can't blame you if the history of your land has been written by the robbers. How do you think it's going to speak highly of you? How do you think they are going to put any value on the words that are spoken or written about you? If the history of your land is written by the perceived victor in a situation where there was no war. I told you the other day about the story of the hunt. The tale of the hunt speaks boldly of the lion, not knowing that the lion succeeds only about 20 times out of 100. Never writes about the antelope, the sprint, the jumps. You can never have faith in a land where you are told you are nothing. Where written on your forehead is FU. Where written on your forehead is please. I need food. What we are trying to put in place is a land where a mom gets out of bed in Ndop. A bus stops in front of the house, picks up the child. The mom says goodbye. The child is heading to school. Comes back from school with his or her bags full with books. With pen, pencil, she never paid for. If that child falls sick, with a click on her phone, if it's an emergency, there is an emergency service there to pick up the child to the hospital. The child is booked in, checked, treated. That mom is going to have faith in the administrators in DOP. You cannot have faith in a place that offers you nothing but misery. You cannot have faith in a place that if you are sick, you die on the corridors of the hospital. You cannot have faith in a place where you drive 200 meters, there is kale extortion and brutality by an enemy occupying force. You cannot have faith in a flag that never protects you. You cannot have faith in an anthem within which you are not represented. My people, we must have faith in our land. We must have faith in ourselves. We cannot have faith in a country where the people of that country don't even have faith in their own country. That since independence, 1960, there are two men who have ruled Cameroon. Two men. It is very important for us to know why we are making these sacrifices, and for us to ask what the rewards would be. And we are laying them clearly to you at the level of each state, explaining detailedly the opportunities that are within those states, how those opportunities will be harnessed and used to uplift the lives of the people within those states and beyond, and what role each and every one of you will play. We are not simply procrastinating. We have the facts about the strength of our country. Cameroon has messed it up completely, deliberately. They never knew this day will come because they believe so much in their own arrogance. They have so much contempt for us. Why? Because they measured us based on how the Funchas and the Munas acted. If those guys banged the table and left, if those guys threatened to set up an army to defend our land, they will know that these are men who will give birth to lions. But those guys were fighting who to become the better slave. And Cameroon then considered that the offsprings of the Funchas and the Munas could only be slaves who would think like them, act like them. And that's why they became so brutal each time we rose up. They became so arrogant each time we spoke out. Because they asked themselves, how dare you? If your forebears succumbed without protest, who the hell do you think you are? And then they recruited, and this is the worst part. This is the worst part about the occupation of our land. They recruited thousands of enablers. Tens of thousands of them. And impose them as our speakers, as our window to the world. Solomon Tanden Muna, when I was in the primary school in Gembo, would land with a helicopter. And all of us will go there and we are clapping for him. He's taken in a limousine into his luxurious home. And they slam the gate lock. He never cared about the road that passed in front of his own house. He never cared about the lives of the people who lived in Gembo, living in misery. Water in Gembo was put through community services. He left behind nothing. He brought nothing. They fought for themselves. And Cameroon came to the conclusion that the offsprings of these men can never be lions. Fellow Amazonians, we are coming to a very important intersection in our struggle. Not marked by events in Amazonia, but by events within the continent and internationally. We are observing the trends of events in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger. We have just seen in Gabon And each time they say Paul Biya is a loot, is a thief, broad daylight armed robber, they ask, where the proof? Where is the evidence? You saw how much money was found in the house of the Bongos. Billions. In that same country, millions of people. They go hungry every day without food. Children die because of lack of medication to treat malaria. Armed robbers, backed by the international system, are living in homes stashed with billions. As I wrote the other day, we are watching these events with keen interest, because this is not the first time we are seeing these military takeovers, and we are aware that these military men and women are the same people who have protected these regimes, molested the population, tortured many, detained many incommunicado, and treated the population with utter disdain and contempt. While we welcome the military takeovers, we caution these military men that there is much at stake. Africa will not continue to be a ground for experiments designed in the corridors of Western capitals, and our continent made a test tube to test these experiments anymore. Africa needs to design an African system commensurate to our own realities. African states need true independence, political, economic independence that guarantees for the people the right to choose their trading partners and dispose of their resources as they see it fit. That Africa natural resources cannot be sold out through racketeering systems and keep the people in perpetual debt without any reward from the resources in their land. We must develop new models of economic development, political theories that suit the continent. We understand the world is now global. We cherish some Western norms and values. We cherish Eastern norms and values. Some of the cultures are similar. Their experiences are similar because of migratory patterns. But there are things that are intrinsically African. And the black people are an endangered species who should be protected wherever. And we must develop economic policies that takes into consideration the fact that for hundreds of years we have not had opportunities. The events within the continent in the past years and months and in the past weeks should get Ambazonians to begin to prepare themselves. I spoke to the generals this morning and I gave firm instructions on the level of preparation that they must have should in case there is a military takeover in Yaoundé. And I want all of us, Ambazonians, wherever you may be, to prepare yourself. for such an eventuality. It will be a huge opportunity for our country and for our struggle. We are taking this seriously. We have also issued an executive order on the issue of education, and I've spoken about this several times. Independence means independence, and that means the foundational pillars of our society needs to be structured in a way that reflects the notion of independence. Whether it's the army, the education system, the legal system that is being gradually developed through public acts, different codes, practices. These will become the foundation of the Amazonian legal system. The processes that we engage in developing these acts and codes and practices will also be very useful in developing a due process approach in the way that we deal with issues of conflict in the Amazonian society. The foundation of the occupation of our country, apart from the military takeover, was the curriculum of education imposed on us. And we all know today that the foundation of this phase of our resistance in the past 7 years has been because teachers rose up and said this foundation is inconsistent with our way of life and they needed changes. Education is key. The knowledge you acquire will determine whether you live a free person or you live as a slave. And all the intoxication that we went through made us perfect slaves to Cameroon. Not only was our history distorted, we were taught things that were totally irrelevant to our own existence, estranged to our own realities, never taught to believe in ourselves, never taught to see our land as a place where we were going to thrive in. Go to Western capitals. They've designed curriculum of education that is a reflection of the opportunities in their own country and even in other countries because of their colonial history. So in a Western school, they are teaching children about mining. In their country, there might be no mining. Why in our own country where you can do mining, you are never taught anything about mining? And so we have done our best to design our own curriculum of education. And it's going to be brick by brick. We are going to stumble. That's fine. And we are going to perfect it with time. And I'm proud of what our Department of Education has been doing. A phenomenal job. And now, every Amazonian, wherever you may be, can enroll in our e-learning program and study practical skills, as I said the other day, that can help you. So if you are a farmer and you want to improve on your yields, you can enroll in a program and study how to multiply your yields and to improve on your lot. We must be practical in our approach, because all the theories we have learned, though important for interpretation, for understanding basic things, but they are not tailored in a way that can make us an asset to our homeland. And we have to alter that. I know people are always worried because we've been so dependent on Cameroon. We've been so dependent on the international system. Because the way we were designed, the way we were taught, is that you need to get a certificate so that you can use it somewhere. That is the way that we have been designed. But I can assure you that sometimes the certificate you acquire without any experience will take you nowhere. Certifications are simply attestation of enrollment and outcomes. What we are putting in place, packages, certifications, and skills. There are many Amazonians who live out here. Men or women, they can't change the tire of their cars. They don't understand anything basic about the cars they drive. There are so many things we came out here we didn't know how to do. You have a problem with your window. One moment. You have a problem with your window. You have basically no carpentry skills. Nothing. We had no skills. We look like buffoons. And we have come to understand the relevance of skills. In our own survival. All the certificates you've acquired through the Cameroon educational system is zero. I can assure you zero. And while we are building our own foundation, we need the support of our population. You must have faith in what we are doing. And don't only think about yourself in the moment. Think about 20 years from now. What will be the effect if we continue on the same path with the system that we've been in for the last 60 years without any results? The results you see are potholes everywhere, dilapidated buildings. In Ngoketungia, UNVDA alone enrolled thousands and thousands of farmers, dug roads, farm to market roads. Today, what has happened? Are we going forward or we are going backward? Why have all of those things collapsed? Because we lack faith in ourselves and in our homeland. Because our own mindset was altered by Cameroon to make us to believe in them rather than ourselves. And this is our journey. This is our journey to alter that history once and for all, and to give back to our people faith in themselves and in our country. With that faith, we will be able to turn water into wine. we will be able to transform our society in a way that we will take pride in. And our children will inherit a better place. Today we are talking about Ngoketungia. I made an error in my circulation this morning, and I apologize for that. It was brought to my attention when I wrote that late Abe Mukong comes from Ngoketungia. So that is corrected. Ngoketungia, the land of no pity, the brave Amazonian warrior who rose from the dusty streets of his state to humble the enemy and to bring Kraidai into the families of into Cameroonian families. Ngoketungia is a great state, and we will learn some facts about Ngoketungia. I learned some facts today that are mind-blowing. Thanks to a wonderful team that I have, that have done a lot of work today. I don't even know where I'm going to start with the work that the Intel Chief, the Education Secretary, the head of Justice and Legal Department, all of the work they've been doing to put the facts about Ngoketungia. I have a different way of approaching each state. Yeah, so I'm going to start today with the potentials, giving you some perspective, introducing this state to you. So you sit anywhere and you see a son or daughter of Ngoketungia, I know you think more now about no pity, this bravery and stuff. But what is it about Ngoketungia? Peculiar facts about that state, its potentials. For those of us who have been around Bamenda, we know of Ndop rice. Who doesn't know about Ndop rice? I have been there several times. A senior brother of mine has worked at the UNVDA, and I have, when I was in secondary school, I guess, I visited Ndop, I visited the UNVDA, and I was, all of us, we like rice, right? Because our own luxury. I remember when I was coming home from school, primary school, and my ears were sharp. And if places are quiet, I am going with hope. And a few 100 meters, if places are still quiet, my hope is rising. And I look into our compound to check what the hell is going on. You know, when places are quiet, Mama is either cooking rice and beans, and some of this stuff. Upstairs, sorry, my son is bombing to the office. Okay, so if you 200, 300 meters away, you hear the mortar pistol. Oh, Jesus Christ, they are making fufu cassava, or they call aqua, or they are making achu. That's your worst day in life. And you are coming home, you are not smiling with anybody. And so when we were told we'll be going to Ndop to visit our brother, all of us were really happy, really happy. Yes, my Biafran friends and brothers, we are working very hard to make sure that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is freed. I will be making a special speech on Biafra in the coming weeks, and I want the Biafran people to work together with us so that we can end the tyrannies in both of our countries. In that neighborhood, I'm very realistic. Every people fighting for their right to self-determination our friends, Amazonian friends. And we were part of the Eastern House in Enugu. And we have hosted thousands and thousands of Biafrans, and thousands of Amazonians are also hosted now in Biafra land as refugees. And we have a common struggle. We're fighting two enemies who work very hard to make sure that they defeat us. It is thanks to Cameroon that Ojukwu lost the war for Biafran freedom against Nigeria. It will be thanks to Ambazonia that Biafra will prevail. So we will have to work together, strategize together to make sure that these two impostors who have taken over our lands do not have the opportunity to keep different leaders in captivity. All right. So welcome to our Biafran friends and brothers and sisters who are watching us. So I was talking about the beauty of Ngoketungia and a very rich land. But some facts that I found today. Do you know there are 13 villages in Ngoketungia? If I make a mistake, I need to be corrected on my timeline. I know the researchers are watching. 13 villages. All of them, without an exception, begins with a BA, and coming from the German origin. Ba, meaning people of Balikumbat, Bafanji, Bamesing, Bambalang, Babawan, Bangolan, Babesi, Babungo, Balikumbit, Bamali, Bamako, Baligashu, Ganshi, Baligashin. Oh Jesus! So this is fantastic. I talked the other day about Bangwa. That's the people from Mwe, which is, we just call it Bangwa, and nobody cares about the origin. It still has a German roots, because as we talked about Lebialem the other day, we talked about the German presence until they were defeated during the First World War. We talked about Bangwa as people from Mwe, and we talked about the people from Mendankwe, which they refer to them as Bamendankwe. Bamendankwe, that's people from Mendankwe. So these are the 13 villages within Ngoketungia. Let me refer to, 13. I got them well. 13 communities that make up Ngoketungia. Each community is led by a fund. The 13 settlements that make up the state of Ngoketungia, which I just highlighted. And they have their own dynamics, internal dynamics, which we are all aware of. So, why is Ngoketungia an important Amazonian state? The potentials are huge. We will talk about the UNVDA that was set up in 1988, the wonderful job that it was doing. Most of us who also know that area, we know about fishing and farming in there. We also note that Ngoketungia is a highly touristic place because of its craftsmanship. We are all aware of that, and we will also talk about that before we come into the problems that the enemy's presence has created and what Ambazonia will do for Ngoketungia to restore its prominence, its importance, its creativity, and to uplift the lives of its people. In this journey of our freedom struggle, we have learned a lot through the activities of our different generals. They have come from different places. You go into Mezam, you have names of generals, the Rambos, the Foolish Man, the JCs, all of these people, the weapons, you have all of these names. They've given us, a sneak peek into these states through their activities, through their bravery. La République is now trying as much as possible, as I said yesterday, to build a different narrative about these warriors, these brave fighters who have humiliated them on a daily basis. As I said about Le BLM, the most we knew about Le BLM was, the negatives, the connotations, what we knew about the Bangwa people, the so-called Bangwa people. No one ever told us about the potentials of Le BLM. We started having a sneak peek into Le BLM through the sons and daughters of Le BLM, the bravery of people like Asongani Bedifil, that we met as far back as 1996 and formed the SCYL together. And even the ones that we had conflict with, like the Chris Arnos, through them we came to know about, who comes from where, what are the potentials of those areas. You go into Ndian, through the effort, through the work of our DDC, race, we were able to have a deeper understanding of what is going on in Ndian. We only knew Ndian associated with oil. That's all. And it's something that, limited our perspective about these places. And the enemy did a good job in highlighting the negativities. When we talk about the settlement communities, whether in Fako, the settlement communities, whether even in Bamenda or in Meme, we never looked into what these settlers brought. The culture they brought in terms of the food, the language, their way of life, how they enrich our own societies. They were only seen from a negative connotation because elites always instrumentalize difference for their own advantage. Now, what are the potentials? Let's start with the socioeconomic potentials, and I want to go from the big ones first. The UNVDA. And I'm still confused. I'll need clarity from our fervent advisors. The Upper Noon Valley Development Authority. Noon sounds like a name from the western province of Cameroon. I'm still not clear why it was named the UNVDA, but we'll provide clarity as we go forward. It was created in 1988, and one of its sponsors was the French government, I think. They mobilized hundreds of thousands of rice farmers with whom, and this is a research piece. I will submit what I'm presenting to you was submitted in the University of Van Hall, Larenstein, University of Applied Sciences, by Patience Chindong in 2008. It's not a peer-reviewed research piece. It was a submission for our master's thesis. But these are facts garnered through her research. They developed 2,532 hectares of paddy rice fields, constructed adequate irrigation and drainage patterns, And this is what I talked about in terms of lack of clean drinking water and the torturous nature of dry season and the thunderous nature of rainy season. You call Ambazonia anytime in the past weeks, everybody is crying of rain. We saw floods everywhere in Victoria, Mutenga and Tiko. Lack of irrigation systems, lack of proper planning, town planning. And I have said the way we are going to harness these resources would be to capture this abundance and store them for bad days, where you will not know the difference between the dry season and the rainy season, because you are going to eat mangoes or corn or whatever. You find fresh tomatoes all the time, and that would enrich our society and give us the opportunity to make money out of our ingenuity. So in Chindong's research, she highlighted the positive contribution of UNVDA. It bulldozed 268 kilometers of access and internal farm roads. I talked yesterday about the lack of roads into, my brother Fonong, yes, Nun is the name of a river in Ngoketungia. Thank you very much, brother. Flows down to the west, into La Republique. Thanks a lot. So the name Upper Nun Valley Development Authority, we now know that through the submission of Brother Fonong, that it's a river that flows down. It's a name of a river in Ngoketungia. So we should make no mistake. It doesn't come from La Republique. And we are aware through these findings that some of the rivers, they also nourish some of the dams in La Republique to Cameroon. We'll cut them off and divert them so that we starve them of water and energy. They constructed 268 kilometers of access and internal farm roads. Very important to move produce from the farm to the market. Built culverts, bridges, canals, giant processing mills, as well as extended vital technical services, including farm input trucks and tractors, were also hired out to farmers at the barest minimum cost. That is the opportunity that UNVDA offered to the community of rice farmers. They could come and hire their trucks, their tractors, to use them in their own fields at very low rates to support and increase productivity. We're following the war in Ukraine, and we're hearing about the negotiations between Russia and Ukraine on the shipment of Ukrainian grain, which is very vital for Western industries and even different societies beyond the Western Hemisphere. And how, because of that war and the shortage in supply of grain, prices have peaked. We talked about the importance of palm oil. These discussions should give you a different perspective about the price tag you put on the produces you have in your land. Because you may have a corn field and you feel like, it's the corn, you just harvest a few of them, you put them in, you put them in the banda, or you roast them by the roadside and eat with plum. But these are produces that can be used to feed cattle for higher yields, enable the production of milk, margarine, and other, derivatives. These are produces that can also be shipped, as we're hearing about the grain in Ukraine. They can also be used to produce alcohol through the process of fermentation. So you can have your brewery industry that you can ship beyond your land. Ngoketungia has the plain, the fields for us to transform it into one of the biggest producing states in Amazonia of a variety of products that can be used in different ways, supply other secondary industries that can benefit from it. And UNVDA played a vital role. Now, to buy a bag of rice, everything, even rice that you can produce, you can farm in our own land and get high yields, everything has to be imported through the enemy channels. Prices are going up. Sources of income are depleting. Very few families are dependent now on expatriate remittances. Unsustainable. The political and economic environment does not give the possibility of foreign direct investment. Total collapse created by the dirty politics of La République du Cameroon. As I said, in 1987, the French government, as one of the main sponsors of UNVDA, did not only withdraw or stop funding, it withdrew its own expatriates, leaving the UNVDA to depend on subventions from the National Produce Marketing Board and La République du Cameroon. 1988, they announced economic crisis and froze subventions. It had 350 staffs reduced to 72. It was also a source of employment, and as I stated, we had a family member who worked there and was laid off, and the consequences were high. Consequences were high. Family disintegration because of very little opportunities. We have commercial fishing in Ngoketungia, around the Bambalang and the Bangolan lake. This lake stretches through several villages. We are aware, I think Texas alone produces hundreds of millions of cattle. If we invest in this kind of fishing endeavors, it will be possible to increase the yields. Because if you marry the production of maize and other produces with the fishing industry, because we have this perception that these rivers cannot have high yields and that you must go down to maybe Victoria to be able to do commercial fishing. In talking about Indian, we came to realize the importance of fishing Indian. So with all of these opportunities within our country, people cannot still eat fish. We cannot commercialize the production of fish to the extent where we can export it. And this is what we can do in Ngoketungia. It will not be a source of protein for the people. It will create opportunities of employment. It will open Ngoketungia to many other opportunities, because all primary industries have secondary industries where derivatives of the produces you produce can be used in other ways, fish oil. And so each state in Amazonia, whether located in the savannah or the Atlantic, is self-sufficient. Each state is self-sufficient. We have a misconception about our land. And that misconception has also led to what we call disrespect for people from particular areas. Because the knowledge we have been inculcated with is the constructed knowledge yipped down by the occupier. We come from a very rich country, and each state is very self-sufficient. We have these are some very important facts that we should get about Ngoketungia. We have heard of these name Ndawara all the time. I talked yesterday. Which state did we cover yesterday? Where we talked about was it Donga? No, Menchum. We talked about Menchum. How elites they've claimed large swaths of land and open ranches, deprive the people of farmable lands, which has led to conflicts. Also in Ngoketungia, we are facing the same problem. The Elba Ranch, what they call Ndawara, owned by Alaji Dampulo, or otherwise known as Alaji Ndawara, we've also learnt about the Ndopti. You come into every household out here in the Western Hemisphere, you will find either the Toleti, the Ndopti. You will find some level of coffee. They are not produced here. They are all imported. The market is there, out here, for our people to believe in themselves, to have faith in themselves and their country, and to reject this negative connotation associated with our way of life, our way of earning a living. That if you are a farmer, you believe that your faith in farming was designed by the lack of opportunities in going to school. Some of the richest person in Norway is a farmer. Multi-millionaire. Without him, people can't feed. And if we have faith in ourselves, you will realize that we will harness the opportunities in our land to feed the world and feed our people and give them the opportunity to excel in everything they want to do. Create primary and secondary industries wherein thousands of our people can be employed. I talked yesterday also about creating an economy without the buying power of the population is useless. You must empower the population so they can buy the produces that you produce. Some of the problems that the people in Ngoketungia are confronting these days is the same kinds of problems that we are confronting in other states in Amazonia. Deliberately imposed by the enemy. Number one is lack of motorable roads. I talked about the number of kilometers of roads that the UN VDA paved or built. The absence of any planning. Entire communities blockaded. You become sick in a particular area like we saw in Dian, rather than get a taxi to a hospital in your own country, you take a flying boat into Biafra. Health infrastructures in Ngoketungia almost non-existent. Roads abandoned. La République is on a campaign of reconstruction. He wants to reconstruct what they did not construct. Every day in their own country, people are dying on highways, narrow highways. They cannot expand those highways. They want to reconstruct Amazonia. We don't know if they are reconstructing what they have destroyed, or they are reconstructing what they built. Absence of any possibility in terms of access to hospitals, to good schools, schools that are tailored towards helping the children of Ngoketungia know the potentials within their state and how to educate themselves to tap into those opportunities and potentials. Nothing. Curriculum of education that teaches them about farming in Newfoundland, fishing in Norway, but not fishing in Bambalang. That's the tragedy of occupation. That's the tragedy of a foreign curriculum of education produced by people who don't know your country, people who are interested only in your resources. We are also aware of the Bamingin Dam, which is very important also for purposes of irrigation, important for farming, and we are aware of the problem that it causes all the time, frequent flooding. So my people, Ngoketungia is extremely very, very rich. The Ndok Plain is a plain that Amazonia will harness for massive food production, not only for domestic consumption, but for export purposes. We are seeing that everywhere around the globe. the rice that is coming from DOP, not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of quality, will not necessitate us importing rice from any other country. We should be able, from DOP, from Ngoketungia as a state, produce enough rice that should feed Ambazonians and that should be exported. In the 21st century, we cannot be seen as importing everything. We get our own timber, we send it abroad, and then we import toothpick. You come out here, houses are built with wood. Decent homes. That is the role that every state, every government should undertake to ensure that its people have shelter. In Ambazonia, shelter is a luxury. We should have shelter as a necessity for purposes of human dignity, for purposes of human development, and for the protection of our children. I am definitely very sure that if we, as Ambazonians, knowing what we have across the different states, commit ourselves to paying our liberation tax, we will generate the resources at this moment, not only to free those states, but also to invest to begin to remedy some of the problems that I have highlighted about Ngoketungia. As we will move talking about Bui, where the ATLA has been strongly implanted, we have watched videos, we've seen pictures of communities being mobilized, digging roads so that farmers can move produce from the farm to the market, building bridges to connect communities that had been disconnected because there were no bridges, trying to build sewage systems, getting irrigation systems. If we commit to our liberation tax, it will be possible through our own effort to make sure we can create within these places the kind of irrigation that will stop the flooding that destroys the homes, the livelihood of farmers, and even destroy crops, because you cannot, under those circumstances, move them from one place to the other. The liberation tax is very critical for us at this particular moment in our history. For every Ambazonian in the diaspora, the deal tax, it's your passport to freedom. It's your visa into the homeland. For those who are thinking of going into the homeland, make sure you have your liberation tax paid. And you have with you all the time your serial number. We have an obligation to our country. We have an obligation to our communities. We have an obligation to our parents to live in conditions that we should be proud of. We cannot time and again hop in, maybe put a small structure and abandon them to their fate, knowing fully well the society does not provide them any opportunities to survive. We must have a long-term plan for our country. A 20-year plan, a 30 years plan, 50 years plan to ensure continuity, to ensure commitment by the next generation, because they will see the foundation that we have laid. We cannot in the 21st century live constantly on tiptoe stance, being beggarly. Even in the prosecution of this war, we must generate huge resources. As I was joking with the generals today, you should be in a barrack with 30,000 bullets, 50,000 bullets, or if you decide at midnight that a nearby La République barrack will not sleep, you are shooting all night. Keep them awake. Psychological torture, disorientation. We must have a long-term commitment to this liberation war. The liberation tax is designed to ensure that we have that long-term commitment. Because it's a law that even if you disagree with us, you will have to pay your tax as a matter of duty. And we will deliver our country back to its people. We must have a long-term plan in terms of post-independence reconstruction. And that comes with knowing the facts of our land, knowing the potentials of our land, knowing the limitations of our land. In that way, we can design economic strategies of empowerment and development, because we have the facts, we have the data, we know the number of people, we know the number of opportunities, we know the potentials of our people. And this state-by-state discussion gives each and every one of us an opportunity to know Ambazonia better, to know how rich we are as a people, to know how rich we are as a state, a country, and to know what we will become once we get rid of La République du Cameroon. We cannot allow this enemy state to continue to butcher our people. Our soldiers are brave. We are watching them on a daily basis. And I know you are praying for them on a daily basis. What has held us back is the sustainable commitment to the war of liberation. All the squabbling, political positioning is irrelevant. All of those things will happen in an independent Ambazonia. When people have formed their political parties, they want to run to become the mayor of a city on top. They want to become representatives in the state parliament. They want to become representatives in the federal parliament. And they will be arguing who is the better candidate, staking their claim to that position with their policies, with their ideas. At this stage, it's war. The only argument we should have is the number of rifles that should be in the hands of our soldiers, the number of bullets that they should have, the sophistication of the armament that we give them. We are watching people deploying drones. We should have a drone fleet that can be deployed into Yaoundé. Oh yes, we have a comrade who has committed to that. We must make the investment that is required by a people who are facing a threat like the one we are facing from Cameroon, so that everything we can do to end La République's rampage, we should. We should not be limited in the 21st century by the means. We've availed ourselves to different forms of technology, how to defeat enemies. Our forces have been making rocket launches They have been producing all forms of IEDs. We should improve on the quality, on the range, on the quantity, and we will end this war in the shortest time possible. Because the more we delay in making this commitment, the longer the war, the longer the suffering. Complaining will not change our fate. Hoping that there is a return to negative peace will not change our fate. Hoping that there should be some negotiations with La République du Cameroon, considering its history of negotiations, will not change our fate. Dreaming about some form of coexistence with Cameroon is only a nightmare. You will get up to remain a slave in your own land. French systems don't coexist. They only dominate. That is the history of all Francophone systems. They don't federate. They only have central governments that are designed to rule with impunity and power. French systems don't cohabitate. They dominate. So whatever you think about this war, we must come to the conclusion that the trial and error from 1961, where we thought they were our brothers, we should trust them, give them a blank check, and they will be nice. We watched them dismantle our institutions. We said nothing. They crumbled Cameroon Bank, looted 75 or 78 billion amber. We said nothing. They used our money, the Bill and Oil Refinery, carry all of their people and put in there. It pays its tax into Douala. We say nothing. We have our own power camp, the Menchum Fall, with 12,000 megawatt production against 3 La République grid of 780 megawatts. They neglected our own for theirs. We have our Ndop rice fields that could be expanded, developed to feed our people. No, they abandoned it to allow you to import rice from China, from Thailand, through their ports at exorbitant prices. That is your fate. That is the warning Endele gave us. We cannot say we didn't know. I am echoing that message of Endele today. However you dream about Cameroon, it should be a neighbor as far as possible. Whatever you think about this war, it should be victory at all cost. Our survival as a people depends on the outcome of this war. It will take just 100,000 Ambazonians, 100,000 Ambazonians of paying their 10,000 amber tax to give us enough resources to destroy La République in about 5 states. It will take 1,000 Ambazonians in the diaspora to give us enough money to handle 2 states in a sustainable defensive and even offensive posture. This is not rocket science. This is arithmetic. I invite each and every one of you, if you've not paid your tax and you are in the diaspora, go on www.adla.africa. You can pay anonymously. You can pay for someone. And you will see the stability, the security, the confidence, the dignity that we will bestow back to the Ambazonian people. And beyond that, the opportunities that will be created by harnessing both our human and natural resources to develop our society. Anything else, and take note, La République did not conquer us by war. It did not. We didn't go to war with La République for them to take over our land and design a system of deprivation. They simply manipulated our leaders who spoke for the enemy rather than for our people. They recruited thousands and thousands for them who battled for the enemy, asked us to accept our fate. That resistance was futile. We were not conquered. And imagine that, God forbid, that it happens this time. You will not only change your name to Roger, you will begin to speak like the Bulus. French will not be enough. They will ask you to learn their local languages. They will ask you to worship them. They will ask you to make sure that all the togo that you are wearing carries the La République flag, so that your children should never dare to challenge them again. But that will not happen under our watch. My fellow Ambazonians, let me not take much of your time. Today is Friday. We will have a long weekend. We are sending our best wishes to our finance secretary, who had an accident today. We commit him in our prayers to a speedy recovery. We're also wishing our Secretary of State good luck in his wedding ceremony tomorrow. And I want to also thank our Vice President, the Chairman of our Communication Council, and one of our deputy spokes who are on a mission and trying to make sure that they can project Ambazonia. We will be putting out a statement once they have all returned safely to base. This month, a delegation of the Ambazonian Governing Council, led by myself, also has been invited to travel to one other country to represent our interests and build good relationships. Next month, we'll also be leading a delegation to another country to talk about Ambazonia. We are taking our international obligations seriously, making sure we introduce Ambazonia correctly, not only as a victim, but as a potential to our friends, our future partners. I don't want the world to continue to look at Ambazonia from a position of pity. They should see us as the warriors who gave La République du Cameroon political asylum, as the warriors who have, through their creativity, their ingenuity, their hard work, support La République with 60% of their GDP. They should see us like the generation that rose up from the ashes of near destruction with bare hands, gained guns, and fought valiantly. Our stories should be told like the stories of the people who fought in the trenches in World War I, in the tunnels, in Prague, and all those who fought to defend Norway, to defend Western democracies, the warriors who are taking over in Africa. We should be seen as a generation of the brave. We cannot continue to market pity. We should market opportunities. Ambazonia is a state whose time has come. And the world must know that we have an electricity power grid that can provide energy in West Africa, that we have the highest peak in West Africa, that we have potentials in Ngoketungia for the culture. It's a place for the craftsmen and the craftswomen that should attract tourists, that on the hills of Lebialem will be the Alps of Amazonia, where you can hop from one high hill to the next as a holiday destination. That the opportunities in Dian, in Rio de Rey alone, the oil beneath the soil, if extracted and marketed at $100 per barrel, will provide for each Amazonian $2,500 US. That is only about 2 oil wells. As we are going across our country, we are learning more about our people, their hospitality, like the people of Fako, who have been hospitable enough to welcome thousands of Amazonians from different states who have brought in their culture to enrich the culture there, their hard work, their hard-working spirit, to make sure they can toil and invest in the economy. We will be going around into different states to look about the potentials that abound and to know from now what those states will become, what they will contribute to the federal budget, the opportunities that they will create for other states, the examples that they will pose for other states to copy. Through these discussions, we are exposing Amazonia to Amazonians first. We are exposing Amazonia to the world to know us as a sustainable people. We are also, through this opportunity, don't forget, one of the reasons why they refused us the TEP option was because of the outcome of what they call the Philipson's Commission that said if given independence, Amazonia will become a liability. And with our connection with Nkrumah Nkrumah, we will lean towards the communists. Through these discussions, you've come to know they told a lie. We were not going to become a liability. We're going to become an asset, not only to ourselves, but to the people of West Africa and even to the people of the world. We are a great people. We should take pride in that greatness. We should invest to protect it, to project it, to sacrifice for it, and to defend it. Any other thing we think we do is suicidal. And we must rededicate, recommit. We should not take the challenges we face, the problems we face, to define the character of our resistance. That's far-fetched from the bravery demonstrated by General Ivo, the bravery demonstrated by General Nopiti, all the General Efangs, General Capo, all the generals who are fighting on the ground, the Sagat, the Sky, the Face-to-Face. I can't call all of their names. Generals who have given us all sorts of names. General Nopiti, big number. A people who never had an identity suddenly bestowed to themselves an identity which they projected. Anywhere now you hear of Amber, you take pride in it. They sing our anthem. He whispers something into your ears. I ask each and every one of you to believe and have faith in your country. That is the essence of your existence. And I am sure by the time we are done with these discussions, your faith in Amazonia would have increased. And that should translate into commitment. to the war of our independence, to the defense of our people, to ensure that we can eradicate through policing some of the extortions, the kidnapping for ransoms that our people have been complaining about. I'm definitely very sure it will improve our standing with our people and with the world. Make no mistake, not Canada, not US, not Norway, not Germany, not Belgium is coming to give you any help. They are waiting for you to fail so that they can continue with the old system that they are used to. The international order does not like uncertainty. It wants clarity, it wants certainty, because it is very, very important in terms of investment. They are not coming to rescue Amazonia. They don't care how many villages are burnt, how many people are killed, until it starts to affect them. We must care for Mami Api's death. We must care about Baby Mata. We must care about Samsoya, about General Ivo, Chacha, and the others who have died in battle. And we must care about the protection of those who are still fighting. Because the only outcome acceptable at this stage is victory for the Amazonian people. Thanks to everyone. You have a nice Friday. Happy weekend. I will see you tomorrow. Possibly we will be talking about the state of Bui. Good night.